Welcome to the June 10th Sacramento County Public Health Media Briefing. Dr. Casserier is in a conflicted meeting right now, so Jamie White is going to give us an update. But just one piece of housekeeping. Next Thursday, June 17th, will be our last media briefing as we move beyond the blueprint. Media inquiries will still be able to go to our COVID media box, but next week will be the last week that we're actually hosting this media briefing. So with that, I will throw it over to Jamie White to give us an update.
So Sacramento County has had 107,130 confirmed COVID-19 cases to date, with 1,716 COVID-19 deaths. Cases and rates continue to steadily decrease. The current 3-day lagged 7-day case average is 57 cases with an unadjusted case rate of 3.6 per 100,000 population. As of last week, 1,334,054 vaccine doses were administered to residents, and there were 611,462 fully vaccinated individuals in the county. The county has had 114 symptomatic vaccine breakthrough cases. We have been notified of 667 variant cases. More details can be found on our COVID-19 epidemiology dashboards. Sacramento County remains in the orange tier until the state lifting of the blueprint for a safer economy next Tuesday, June 15th. Reminder that Dr. Casserier's current local health officer order, including the local masking mandate, will expire on June 15th. At this time, there are no plans to issue an additional countywide health officer order. The California Department of Public Health has updated and posted the state face covering guidance that will be effective June 15th. Under the new state guidance, masks will be required for unvaccinated individuals in indoor public settings and businesses. Masks will not be required for fully vaccinated individuals except on public transit and healthcare settings, including long-term care facilities, in correctional centers, homeless shelters, emergency shelters, and cooling centers. CDPH has indicated that updated guidance for K through 12 schools is forthcoming. So these requirements for schools and childcare settings may change. Workplaces are subject to Cal OSHA COVID-19 emergency temporary standards. So employees should consult with those regulations for additional applicable requirements. With that, I'll pass it over to Stacy for an update on testing.
Good morning. So we are going to continue to run our 13 community testing sites that are located throughout the county. Next week, those testing sites will start offering free antigen testing along with the PCR testing that they have been doing. The antigen test will give them results within 15 minutes. If someone tests positive and they want a confirmatory PCR test, they can get that done at the same site. We're hoping this will be a great resource over the summer for families who want to attend large events, for any kids who need to be tested to participate in sports, anyone that's traveling to see other family members, or for any people that have to get tested regularly. This is a great resource. Our community testing sites are also going to be offering pop-up testing at events throughout the county. So if an organization is planning an event, they can request a testing pop-up. We have all those locations located on our website. They will take kids as young as 2, and they will take walk-ins as well as appointments. So they're very accessible. And I think that's all I have, Jana.
Thank you. So that concludes our update for today. So we can go ahead and take questions. Go ahead and use the raise your hand feature or put a comment in the chat, and I will call on you and we'll field the questions with whoever's the best option from the public health staff. Questions? Michael?
Hi, yeah, this is Mike from the SACP. This is a pretty generic, not very eloquent question, but is Sacramento County happy with where it is in terms of COVID transmission rates with the state set to reopen 5 days? That's my only question. Thanks.
So I can attempt to take that one. I think we're really happy with the direction the case rates are going, and that we at least made it into the orange tier. Of course, the lower the cases and case rates are, the better we would feel about it. But I think we're pretty happy with our progress, especially over the last couple months.
Brandy?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. This is Brandy Cummings with KCRA. You know, there's a lot of confusion about when and where to and how to wear masks after June 15th. And I know that based on the update, the county will ultimately end its mask mandate and have everything in line with the state. But are there any mechanisms, or will there be any mechanisms in place to check for people being vaccinated, for instance, at some of these larger events? Is there anything specific happening in the county as it relates to identifying whether or not people are vaccinated and should be masked versus those who should not be?
Yeah, so even though the local guidance is being lifted, we and our residents are still subject to those state guidelines. The guidelines that were just released yesterday had some additional guidelines around that sort of thing. So I know it's the mega events, so that's 5,000 plus indoors and 10,000 plus outdoors. Those events, it is required that you show proof of vaccination or a negative test. With other types of settings, the state is kind of leaving it open for individual businesses and entities to decide whether or not to show proof of vaccination, to do self-attestation of vaccination, or to just assume that there are some unvaccinated. So I hope that answers your question. I think any additional detail into how that would be implemented is hard to say, other than what's in the state guidance.
Sure, and I think that's kind of a part of the question of that implementation, because there are so many questions both for individuals and families looking to attend events, as well as businesses on how to protect their workers, and just kind of all of it has changed and is constantly changing. So just any clarification on that is always helpful. Yeah,
and to layer on top of that, there's the Cal OSHA guidance, right, which is a little bit more on the side of caution. And so I can tell you that, for example, with our vital records, our front counter will be opening to the public next week. And we'll have signage asking people to wear a mask if they're not vaccinated when they're coming into the front lobby, but we're not going to be checking vaccine cards at the door. And we will have masks available to people at the front if they aren't, and we'll ask them to wear it if they aren't in the lobby. But I think enforcement also brings, or attempting to enforce something also presents somewhat of a safety issue for staff. And so there's that balance between the safety issue of not wearing masks versus the safety issue of potential resistance to wearing a mask by the general public. I can't really speak for every other entity.
Are there any other questions? I don't currently see any other hands raised or anyone in the chat. So last call for questions. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded, and I will send out the link to the full recording within an hour or so. And for those of you that joined after I made this announcement, next week, June 17th, will be our last weekly media briefing. We will still be fielding in media inquiries for data or interviews or whatever the case may be through our COVID media email box. But next week will be our last media briefing as we move beyond the blueprint. So if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and end this. And thank you for coming to the June 10th Sacramento County Public Health Media Briefing. See you next week.